Well, well, well. Well, well, well. It's time for a new edition of Let's Argue, where we all get together on the internet and argue. I basically hop on social media asking for your hot takes, unpopular opinions, and tough questions. I respond to the best ones in videos like this. Let's go. Post Malone is one of the greatest rappers in the game right now. The way he blends R&B and hip-hop is truly incredible in my opinion, and Stoney was an incredible album. While I have enjoyed quite a bit of Post Malone's newest record, I still pretty much feel the same way that I did about Stoney. And I don't really think there's any denying that there were a lot of improvements he made from that record. I think Post Malone is becoming a very good artist, a very good songwriter, although to just kind of label him as a rapper doesn't quite make sense. I mean, not only because I feel like lyrically he's not quite as sharp as some of his more superior contemporaries. I mean, not only Kendrick Lamar or even some of the poppier rappers in the field like Drake. It's gonna be a while before Post Malone has nearly as many quotables as Drake, even if a lot of his quotables are probably ghost written. I definitely see, understand, and respect the Post Malone hype right now, but let's pump the brakes a little bit and kind of give him more room to grow, because I feel like there's always more room for improvement, especially in the case of Posty. J-pop is infinitely miles better than K-pop. I mean, I guess I probably know offhand and care about more J-pop artists than I do K-pop artists, but that might just be kind of a personal bias of mine. I mean, I do prefer Kiari Pamu Pamu over nearly every K-pop group that I've ever heard so far. And I do see K-pop as just like a little bit more corporate and abusive toward the artists and exploitative and, I don't know, a little creepy. But there's really no denying that K-pop has captured the hearts and minds of tons of music listeners, far much more than J-pop is right now. N.E.R.D is the ultimate name drop band. Everyone likes them, almost no one actually listens to them consistently. If not them, who do you think holds the name drop title belt? I think part of the reason that is just Pharrell Williams. He's so influential, he's all over the place, he drops verses and production everywhere. He seems to have worked with everybody who is anybody, and as he continues this run of success, people are constantly referencing back to the Neptunes, to N.E.R.D. If I have any strong feelings on N.E.R.D, it's that after their first couple of records, I feel like artistically, stylistically, they fell off quite a bit. Although, I do think their newer record was kind of a bounce back. Do people bring them up more than they listen to them, though? I don't know. Maybe not as much as guys like Nas or Tupac. Opera is the most boring, mediocre, and pointless genre in the entire history of music. I'd rather see a small animal get run over than listen to one opera performance. At least the sound the animal makes as it's hit would be more pleasing to the ear. I won't deny that opera, especially for a generation like the millennial generation, which most likely has very little in the way of background or experience with classical music, is a bit of a tough sell, is a bit of an adjustment, is a bit of an acquired taste. However, I mean, classical music and opera has its place, and certainly more than any other genre, it tests some real vocal chops. Maybe for a lot of people it seems like it's a little over the top or a little too theatrical. La la la, la 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 la, ba 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 ba, ba 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 ba. But honestly, it's supposed to be. It's a theatrical, it's a dramatic, it's a campy genre. Depending on the song, the performance, the artist, some opera performances can be quite moving, quite powerful. Bitches Brew is better than Kind of Blue and is the best Miles album. I don't know if I would say it's the Miles album, but I do find Miles more experimental and jazz fusion-y type records more interesting than his cool era, so I'm kind of fucking with this tweet. Separating art from the artist is harder by the day with every stream funding them, every tweet, post, video about them promoting their platform, Nas and others, so on and so forth. Yeah, I suppose that's true. I suppose streaming makes it difficult to kind of be a totally neutral outside observer when it comes to artists who you disagree with or you don't want to support because they do problematic things, because, oh, you stream one of their songs, it puts money in their pocket, oh. Look, I get that you might not want to support Little Murder Conviction, but honestly, whether or not you stream that person's song at the end of the day has little impact on whether or not other people are streaming that person's song. I get that all of those streams add up, but what are you really contributing to that at the end of the day? And if you really are that dedicated about it, then, I mean, there's always piracy. Piracy, I mean, it might seem like it's not as relevant as it used to be because of streaming and that being so easy, but honestly, it's still around. It's still there. You could still do it if you want. Be careful. Don't get in court. Even though Spotify is considered to be some evil spawn of Satan, without it, a lot of people would only listen to what plays on the radio, and a lot of new artists would have gone unnoticed. I think you're kind of attributing to Spotify what just the internet in general does. Because since the advent of Spotify and streaming, you could kind of argue that the sound of mainstream music has only become more and more homogenized. In fact, there are numerous articles and studies on that very topic. Also, if you look at the stats on Spotify, a vast majority of those streams on the Spotify platform are attributed to their playlists, many of which are filled with top 40 artists, major label artists, very well-established artists. Except for the fake ones. I mean, let's look at the top 100 most streamed artists on Spotify. If you actually want to push a platform on the internet where people listen to music and buy music and support music and are actually breaking artists and building the careers of up-and-comers, why not try Bandcamp or SoundCloud? Even some of Apple Music's playlists are far more eclectic than what you'll find on Spotify. Now, I'm not saying that Spotify is evil, but I don't know, the idea that there's some kind of like great champion for artists is not really true. Like, they don't give a shit about artists. I think it's okay to pour the milk before the cereal. Ace! What the hell is wrong with you? I'm gonna come on your YouTube channel and beat your ass with my Pac-Man. A large amount of music reviewers critique albums on what the music could have been, opposed to judging it on what it is. This is a poor way of reviewing music, especially as it deals more with the reviewer's biases, opposed to being fair and objective as possible. I see your comment to an extent, but I feel like pulling music totally away from any and all expectations that you could potentially have for it kind of just observes it in a vacuum. And when you're looking at music like that, nearly anything can kind of be portrayed as good if you kind of adjust the lighting correctly. I think people reviewing music, or really any kind of entertainment, should do their best to maintain some kind of separation or objectivity from the subject matter. But it's also healthier to kind of acknowledge the fact that there are going to be natural biases and expectations there, and just kind of be aware of them rather than attempting to ignore them altogether. Because certainly the audience is going to go into a lot of the albums that you're talking about, into a lot of the movies you might be talking about, with expectations, especially if you're talking about an artist, a director who's been in the game for years and they have a long track record, and people are going to go into that project with everything they know and understand and love, or maybe even hate from previous efforts. At the end of the day, just remember, you can't be lazy and argue yourself through a review based merely on comparisons to the artist's previous work. You actually have to have gripes and reasons to celebrate this new piece of work that are specific to your listening experience with this album. Cite things that make it sound great. Cite things that make it sound bad. Song covers with a ukulele aren't nearly as bad as people treat them. Yes, they are. Yes, they fucking are. And that's going to be it for this edition of Let's Argue. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a nice day. Over here next to my head is more in the Let's Argue series, and I'll catch you in the next one. Anthony Fantano, forever.